morning, everybody, and welcome to the Very Vera Show. And I'm so happy that you decided to join us tonight because I don't know about you, but it's cold outside, the Super Bowl's coming up, and what could be better than a wonderful bowl of delicious chili? Well, you're in luck because I have two very special guests tonight, Jean Gardner. And Jean, you are famous for
my Texas chili.
Among other things, she's famous for the fact that her granddaughter is one of my cooking campers, Wesley.
That's right.
Well, that just sounds wonderful. I can't wait to see everything that has to do with that. And then Joanne Johnson. And Joanne, what are you going to be preparing?
I'm making white chicken chili, and it's amazingly good.
Well, it sounds good, and I'm going to start with you over here in terms of what all is in this. You're cutting up, what is that?
Chicken breast.
Chicken breast.
And we have onions. We have garlic. Ooh. We have chopped green chilies. We have salt, red pepper, cumin, and oregano, Great Northern beans, and chicken broth.
Well, you know, Great Northern beans was actually a little bit difficult for me to find. Joanne sent me all of her ingredients. She's sharing the recipe with us tonight. And actually, her chili was part of a contest that I judged. And Jean's recipe won the award. And then we had a most unusual chili, and Joanne's recipe won that. So I think you're going to really, really like this because, you know, there's so many things a lot of times that we get familiar with, and you throw in some different ingredients, but all of this looks wonderful. I can't wait for you to get started on that. So let's walk over here and look at Jean's ingredients and see a little bit of the difference here on that.
Mine has ground chuck, onion, garlic, tomato sauce, tomato paste, beans, chili powder, cumin, salt, and beer.
Beer. Oh, wow. I know we're going to love that. Well, the thing, and you know, this was a competition that I judged, and when you're sitting trying so many different chilies, it's actually a little bit difficult to decide, you know, how you're going to make the determination. There were 3 judges that night, and hands down, we couldn't talk to each other because we were too busy eating all of these different varieties of chili. But one of the things that we all agreed on without discussion was that this one was the best. So I think you're going to really enjoy watching this come together, seeing the difference in these particular differences in these chilies. And I know Joanne is anxious to get her onions cooking over here, so I'm going to help her get this stove turned on. But one of the things that we're going to do tonight is that chili is such a great dish to make in bulk. Both of these ladies, we laughed about the fact that when you get ready to make it, that you're making a bunch of it. So when I said, we just need to make enough for the show today, they were both like, I don't know how to make a little amount. So, you know, when you're making a lot of it, you know, sometimes your recipe changes, but the recipes that we'll have on our website for both of these chilies are going to be a family portion, would be enough to serve 4 to 6 people, correct?
Exactly. Correct. Mm-hmm.
And so this will be a great way for you to try the recipe without making a large batch and make sure that you like it. Both of these recipes freeze really well. Yep. And so at the end of the segment tonight, we're going to show you some presentation ideas. We're going to give you some ways to freeze it and other ways to use it. So we're going to get started on this during the break, but when we come back, we're going to be over here with Joanne on this white chicken chili that's almost like a heartier stew. Yeah. It's more like a soup than it is a thicker chili. I think you're going to really like it. So grab a cup of coffee or a glass of wine. Get ready for some really great Southern cooking. We're going to have a good time. Come back and join us. Welcome back, and if you're just joining us, I have a very special guest. I actually have 2 tonight, but who's with me right now is Joanne Johnson. And Joanne and I met at a chili cook-off. And she was just this very sweet, nice lady that was over there. I had no idea because I couldn't look. I was a judge. I couldn't see what kind of chili she was making, but she looked like she could potentially have a really great recipe. As it turns out, her recipe for white chicken chili won most unusual chili. And I said, Joanne, will you come on the VeryVera show and teach everybody how to make it? And she said yes. I was so happy. So while we were away during the break, what have you been doing, Joanne?
I've been sauteing the cut up chicken breast and the onions and the garlic at a low temperature just until the chicken turns white and the onions are sort of clear.
Yeah, translucent. Oh,
Uh-huh.
wow, it smells so good.
And when that's all done, then you can start adding the other ingredients.
All right, well, we went over the ingredients in the first segment, and so, you know, the ingredients certainly have a lot to do with how the recipe is, and I think as we go along, you're going to make suggestions on this. Okay, what do you want to add first?
I usually like to start with the chicken broth, so
Okay.
that can go ahead and be getting heated up some.
All right, so this is the Fresh Market, just their chicken broth that comes in the box. And remember, I always tell y'all that when you're using this and you don't use all of it, to date the box
Yeah.
when you put it back in the refrigerator so it's not out of its expiration when you use it.
You stir that around well, and then you can begin to add your other ingredients.
Okay, so we've got
A teaspoon of
a
salt,
teaspoon of this is kosher salt.
a teaspoon of red pepper,
Okay.
fourth a teaspoon of red pepper.
Yeah, boy, a teaspoon. I'd be
That
crying.
might be really
I'd
hot.
be crying, Joanne.
Okay.
Okay.
A teaspoon of oregano
Okay.
and cumin.
Okay. And isn't it nice to have all the ingredients? Wouldn't it be
Yeah.
nice at home
I
if
know.
you were doing this and
If
you
you
just
had it all
the
prepared.
your magic fairy godmother was measuring everything for you?
And then you can add just a couple of grinds of fresh ground black
Okay.
pepper.
All right. Let me take the lid off of this. Okay. I love these little grinders.
That should be good.
That's good right there. Okay.
And then we stir in all the spices, get that combined well.
Now, when you make this, you do make a huge amount at once. Isn't
I
that what
do.
you told me? You
And it-
usually triple this recipe.
And it freezes very well, and it's really nice just to take it out when you come home on a cold, rainy day and you think, what am I gonna eat? And take that out of your freezer, pop it in your microwave, and it's ready to go.
All right, now what have we got here?
That is diced green chilies.
Does
And
that go next?
That goes next, and if it's chopped green chilies, which are not, they're a little spicy, but not a lot.
Okay.
If you have family that loves really spicy things, you can substitute the cans of chopped jalapenos instead of diced chilies.
Well, now this also had mild or hot,
Yes.
so I bought the mild.
That's what most people like.
Okay.
If I were cooking it for myself, it'd have the hot in it.
Ooh, hot. Okay.
Yeah. And then we can add
Okay,
the
and
beans.
these are the Great Northern,
Northern beans.
beans. And you drained these in a colander, correct?
And rinsed them,
And
yes.
rinsed them out of the can. Now, you know, this time of year especially, it truly is nice to have something that you can pull out quick out of the freezer. But, you know, Super Bowl is coming up right around the corner. You know, or if you just want to have people over in the winter, I think everybody loves to eat this. And you said you do a cornbread a lot of
Yeah.
times to go with this.
I have a recipe for feta cheese cornbread, and it adds just a little extra zip to the usual cornbread recipe.
Well, would you give us that recipe too?
Sure, I'll be glad to share that with you.
Okay, well, we're going to have both of these recipes on our website at Vera at NBC26.tv. All right, well, we're going to let this simmer
It'll
down.
be just simmering.
And when we come back from the break, we're going to let you take a break. We're going to invite Jean to come back, and we're going to get started on her Texas traditional red chili. So come back with us in just a few minutes. Gosh, that's looking great. All right, the dinner party's over, and now we need to deal with some stains that have ended up on some of your wonderful white napkins. So rubbing alcohol can be your friend that you might want to keep with your other cleaning supplies in the kitchen, because a little bit of rubbing alcohol on that lipstick stain is going to work perfectly. You just want to take a paper towel, put it down into the alcohol, and then you're just going to just blot that lipstick stain right out. It'll take a few minutes, but that should work great. The next one is that hard chili stain. You want to take just some kosher salt, cover the stain really well, take your hands and rub it together, and then you want to immerse it into a bowl of cold water. And after a little bit of time, as you can see, that stain is going to come right out. So keep things like your rubbing alcohol, kosher salt handy. They're going to end up for more things than what they're used for usually. Welcome back, and I'm so glad you decided to join us tonight, and I'm so thrilled, Jean, that you cleared your calendar to be with us too. You guys, this is Jean Gardner, and Jean and I have known each other for quite a while, but I was fortunate enough to be with you and about 20 other people a few weeks ago for a chili cook-off. And everybody knows that Jean makes a really mean, great chili. And so I was fortunate enough to get to try 20 different chilies that day. And you can only imagine it was getting a little intense there about midway trying all these different chilies. And they're all so different, Jean.
They are.
I mean, everybody's recipe, there was not one recipe that I tasted that day that was similar to another one. I mean, it was crazy. But there was no doubt among the other two judges and myself as to which recipe deserved to win. If you're looking for a great traditional chili recipe, this is it. So, while we were away during the break, what were you working on?
I was browning the ground beef, a pound of ground beef, and then I'm going to add my onions to that and my garlic that's already been browned.
Okay, and that's a Vidalia onion?
That's you can use any kind of onion you want.
Okay.
Whatever's in season, whatever. And the garlic.
And you did that in olive oil?
I did a little bit of olive oil.
And when we were talking about this earlier, I said, now what do you like to brown your onions in? And she said, well, I spent, what was it, 3 years?
3 years in Italy. And so I always use olive oil for everything.
Oh, man. Okay. And now I also want to remind everybody that on Tuesdays, the Fresh Market has the ground chuck and the chicken breast that we did earlier with Joanne on sale for $2.99 a pound. And you cannot beat that with this wooden spoon. It's amazing. All right. So what are we going to do next?
We're going to add the dry ingredients. Turn the heat up a little bit.
Okay.
And add the dry ingredients. I like to add the chili powder first and the cumin.
Now, how much chili powder with that? That looked like quite a bit.
That's 3 tablespoons.
Okay, and that's to a pound of ground beef.
That's to a pound of ground beef. And if you want to make 3 times as much chili, you put 3 times every ingredient.
Okay.
It's sort of
because
like a
that's
formula.
The other thing, you also said that when you make this, you just go ahead and make a big pot of it.
I do it and put it in the freezer for my friends and family who
Well, you know, that's
love
another
chili.
great point is when you have something like this in the freezer, if there is a situation where you need to take something to somebody, you're not having to stop and go to the grocery store. You've got something that you know is delicious already handy.
And this is the cumin, 2 teaspoons of cumin.
Okay.
And just brown
You know,
that
I mentioned
a little
earlier that Jean's granddaughter, Wesley, who is a junior at Davidson,
Right.
was one of my cooking campers. And she was quite the little person in the kitchen, I will have to say, but now she's quite the musician.
She's large and in charge.
Large and in charge, absolutely.
And
okay.
salt.
Salt.
And then we're going to get to the tomato sauce.
And see, this is a little different from Joanne's technique, is that she put her liquid in first.
And then the spices.
And you put the spices in first because you wanted them to soak up
to heat up into the
and
meat.
Her dish, the flavor needs to be in the broth, in the actual, because hers is a little thinner and more like that.
Mine's a little thicker. So 8 ounces of tomato sauce.
Okay. And you know, I love to use the Fresh Market brand on all of this because they have such a great brand presence in their store.
And 6 ounces of tomato paste.
Okay. This is where my little handy small spatulas come in so handy. And we actually used a larger can of the sauce. I bought the wrong size. I just couldn't quite figure it out.
I didn't put it all in there.
And she didn't put it all in. But, you know, when you do open up a can and you don't use the whole thing, you do want to put it in an airtight container and, again, label it when it goes in the refrigerator. Okay.
And now we're ready for the liquid. I use 1 can of beer. You don't have to. If you don't have any beer, you can use water, all water.
That's such a sweet sound. God, this is what I think. Is this the secret ingredient?
Well, I guess you could call it that, yes.
Okay, so I guess you could use Budweiser or a dark stout, whatever you want. So
Yeah.
I thought I would make this low calorie and put in Miller Lite.
I usually use whatever my husband has, which is...
Okay. And then do the beans go next?
And then the
The water?
the beans.
The
Yes,
beans,
let's do the
okay.
beans.
Okay. And
And
these are pinto beans?
They're pinto beans. You can use any kind of beans, kidney beans, whatever you like. I just like pinto beans. And if you leave a little bit of the liquid from the beans in the, put it in the mix, it makes it a little thicker.
Oh,
It
okay.
tends to thicken the chili a little bit.
And then the water
And
is
now,
to get it.
to get it to the right, just maybe
Just
a half a cup.
Okay, we'll try that. Well, we're going to keep working on this and get it to just the right consistency. And when we come back after the break, we're going to put these two ladies together, their two chilies together. We're going to do some tasting, and we might even have a hot dog. So come back with us after the break. Welcome back, and I don't know about you guys, but I have had such a great time tonight. You two girls, I need y'all to be regulars. We just need to be cooking up all these wonderful dishes all the time, but it's been quite a lot of fun. As you learned tonight, I met both of these ladies through an opportunity I had to judge a chili cook-off, and we had the #1 winner with Jean's chili, and she told me she was nervous. Jean, what was that? You said
I was in the line. I was dishing out the chili for the dinner, and I heard them call all the names, and they got to #2, and I thought, I am not going to win anything, and my chili is good. And then they called my name.
Yeah,
so.
it was great. And then Joanne's chili was not a traditional chili, but it was so good, we had to create an award for it.
Yeah.
So you won, what was the title that we gave
The
it?
People's Choice Award for Most Unusual Chili.
Chili.
I had a long title.
No, it was wonderful. So you have a couple of ingredients that you need to add at the end, so why don't we get that going? Ooh, doesn't that just look
For the
wonderful.
finishing touch, we add a cup of sour cream and a half a cup of half and half, and stir that in well.
Okay, yeah, I'll take that away. And a half a cup of half and half.
I have that right here.
Oh, now we're talking more white.
It's not low calorie.
That's okay, we're only gonna eat a little bit. Okay, so that looks really good.
And it's done, except for just letting that be incorporated. And
Okay, well, while you work on that for just a minute and maybe get it dished up into the bowl, we're gonna
Okay.
come over here to Jean, and you know, this is a very vibrant
Very
color.
nice and red and thick.
Oh, that just looks so good. All right, so we're going to garnish yours with,
You could garnish it with sour cream and some cheese. If your kids like, you can put a bed of Fritos
Fritos.
down and the chili over it, and then the cheese and sour cream on the top.
okay, well, we're gonna pass that sour cream down in just a minute, but she's gonna do a little bit of sour cream as a garnish, just a little dollop on the top. We'll bring this down to you for yours. And then that's, what is that?
spring green onions,
Oh, wow.
finely chopped.
Finely chopped. And then I thought it can't be chili without a chili dog, right? So these, if you have never had the hot dogs in the deli case at Fresh Market that are up there with all the roast beef and the turkeys and all that, you need to go and get those. But this is one of their wonderful hot dogs, and we put a little bit of chili on top of that. That's gonna be great. I want to certainly suggest that try these recipes just as they are with the pound of each of the meats. You're going to love both of them. The next time you do it, you're going to want to go to Fresh Market and buy the chicken
When it's on sale.
and the beef when it's on sale for $2.99 a pound, which is unbelievable. So the recipes are on Vera at NBC 26. I want to thank Joanne and Jean for sharing these recipes because, you know, these were a secret until tonight. But I want you to come back and join us again next Saturday for another episode of the VeryVera Show. And remember, no matter what you do, do it in good taste. And I'm probably not going to try to eat this hot dog on the air, but I can guarantee you it's going to be delicious. So come back with us next week for another episode of the VeryVera Show.